as you can see, this is a typically small medieval street. We cannot call it a street, it's a path. Yeah? That was large enough to fit the carts with oxen, because the peasants have worked with oxen, not with horses. Most of the buildings are built with stone as a construction material, and you can then identify that by the fact that it's not a straight line like bricks, because you have like a small valley if you look on the blue house. Yeah? What is really interesting on this small street is the fact that everything what stays on the right hand goes in the second level of the building in the central square. And you will see here, for instance, you can go down in a house, not up. Yeah? And our town, because has stayed smaller, yeah, has preserved this kind of pattern, including in the turbulent time of communism. More or less, we can say the entire combination of citadel with lower town, it's not more than maybe 10% changed. The first written document in a letter that came from Rome, from the Rome Curia, in the time of the Pope Boniface VIII, is 1298, and it's mentioned the name of the place in a local dialect, Szespory, not Szesburg, because the German community in Transylvania still use until today 2 languages. They learn in the school Hochdeutsch, that means the literature language of German, but they speak home the dialect, and the dialect is called Sächsisch. This dialect is very similar with what it's today in Europe. The first correspondent of this dialect is Luxembourgish.
Ah, okay, so it's close to Luxembourg.
A person from here who speaks dialects and goes in Luxembourg, 80% he's able to understand with the guys there. If you say in Hochdeutsch, good day,
Guten Tag.
guten Tag, yeah, on the dialect you say Gandor.
Do Saxon people still live in Sighisoara? Do you still have
Yes,
Saxon
we
families?
still have a community. The numbers are approximately, let's say, 420 people.
Okay.
Linked with, these people are member of the Lutheran Church. Unfortunately, most of them are older people. Transylvania was conquered in the 11th century by the Hungarian kingdom. As a consequence, the kingdom wanted to defend in the first place and develop in the second place. As a result, they invited different type of population, and the Germans are one of this population. They was called Saxones in Latin language because of the dialect that we have spoken. They came in different stages, and especially linked with our town, these people that came had special ability in direction of crafts, yeah? Because our town has as a background crafts. And when they came here, they got special privilege, because you cannot invite people without offering something, yeah? And they have preserved this privilege centuries. Yeah? The German until today don't use the word Transylvania, they use the word Siebenbürgen. Now here it's a problem linked with different historical theories, but mainly it's the fact that the first 7 towns with privilege of justice have built what is called Siebenbürgen, the 7 cities of Transylvania. And Sighisoara is one part of that, can be seen by the tower, especially the 4 towers on each corner. That means our town had a code of law, and this code of law was capable to give capital penalty. There are 2 levels of figures. In the lower level to the right, you see the hangman. That means you have a code of law, the code of law gives the sentence, the hangman put it in practice. Yeah? And now basically we will reach the top level, yeah? The fortified area that was needed because Transylvania was constantly attacked. Yeah? Here we have a path that is called the path of the old ladies. As you can see, it's steep, and in a proper winter, by minus 25 degrees and 1 meter of snow, the access to the church was in a way complicated. And then the community built a structure for protection. And because it was very often used by old ladies, and the people from Sighisoara like to make jokes, it got the nickname the Path of the Old Ladies. Yeah, the tower basically in the beginning was a gate tower. As you can see, this is the place for the mobile gate, yeah? Where the mobile gate was falling down, yeah? And blocking the access. And it was doubled by a secondary gate, yeah? Put it on a different angle to make it impossible to shoot directly in the major gate. It was a gate tower, and because it was chosen to be the headquarters of the mayor, the city hall, it became more important. The structure was changed, and in this structure has appeared the small towers on the corner, the clock, the figures, yeah, giving the importance of the fact that 200 years it was the city hall. Intramuros, inside of the wall, I can say more than 90% of the structures are standing. We have some very interesting buildings with background, with stories, like the Venetian house. The owner of this house, as a journeyman, met his wife in Venice. They fall in love, they married. She has followed him back home, but constantly she was complaining by the fact that, yes, my nice Venice. Obvious, he got a very important position in the structure of the town, and then when he had the opportunity, he changed the architecture in the Venetian style. Yeah, you see the double broken arches of the buildings. Yeah, and then obviously we need to mention the house with Dracula. Yeah, but in a way, if we link it with the myth of what is Dracula today, we are not so connected. We are connected basically with the father. We don't have any document that proves that the son, Vlad the Impaler, was here or was born here. I can show a book. It's the result of a study that was made in Central Europe, especially in Germany. Now it's published also in Romanian language. And it's based on documents from the official chancellery from the Middle Age time. And this is about the personality of the son. Now, linked with Sighisoara, we speak about the father, not the son. The father lost the power in Walachia and claimed political exile by the Hungarian king. In that period, Transylvania was part of the Hungarian kingdom. And he chose Sighisoara as a headquarters for his small court for the time when he was away, when it was in political exile. Presumably, we can say that maybe on this space it was before a house, but what we have today, the house is 18th century, yeah? Especially in the communist time, and then also later, it became in a way very easy to put as a label the fact that Vlad the Impaler was born here. But that it's a myth without any historical proof. Yeah? The idea also why I brought the book, because the book reveals also the real personality of Vlad. It reveals from these official documents more the fact that it was a specific personality for the 15th century. Impaling was not invented here, it was used. In his case, it was used as a psychological weapon, yeah? Fighting with the Turks that had obviously a much more bigger army than his. Yeah? And a lot of other behaviors was very, very common from that point of view. One first milestone, the year 1241-42, Mongolian invasion in Europe. That was the moment when Transylvania was made with claims tabula rasa. In Latin means everything was burned down. That was the moment when came the idea and the necessity of a fortification. And that was the moment when slowly, in centuries, they start to build up. Then, a lot of attacks, a lot of conquering. A very big fire, because that is again the second milestone in the history of our town, 1676. The entire town burnt down in one day. 650 buildings are mentioned in the chronic of the Taylor Tower, that this buildings was burnt down. Just 12 people passed away because it was during the day and the people was able to run out. I use it as a milestone because if we link it with this house, obviously this house burned down. Yeah? And maybe after that, it was rebuilt. It's a heritage that it's alive. Not just the fact that we have some public institution here, like the city hall, or like churches, or like schools, but also more or less 180 people are living permanently here in the heart of the citadel. That means the life goes on. It's alive. It's not a museum. It's not opened in the morning and closed in the evening. Yeah, there are two congregations. Yeah, we have a Lutheran and Catholic church. Yeah, we have a school. Yeah, we have the town hall, and we have a lot of guys that needed to come with a car. Yeah, that's also the negative part. Yeah. This is a sandstone, and this is the major material of most of the construction in Transylvania, because you can find it plenty in the structure of the hills. There are more reasons, but one of the reasons, if you wish, very practical. It's easy, you can have it, but also the fact that to build bricks, you need time. And when you are attacked twice in a year, when you have time to build bricks. And this entire line, it's a former church. Important why? Especially for what we call this religious tolerance of Transylvania, by the fact that here was an important meeting in the 16th century between the head of the Catholic Church and some reformer of the church. And it's mentioned in documents they had this kind of debate here about the future of the different kind of confessions that we had in Transylvania since 16th century. And we got the famous staircase, or how we call them, the student covered staircase, that connect until today this level of the fortification with the upper level where we have the most important two institutions in the life of a community, church and school. And we can say very proud that this year, 2022, we have this 500 years since in our town educational system is mentioned, and it's still working. The staircase is built in a specific way. We have 6 steps and a straight path. 6 steps and a straight path. Can you guess what means that? You are working 6 days and you rest the 7th. And until today, if we come in the morning, you will see students and teacher, both category, use them to reach the school. Yeah, obviously, when you walk and you also try to make an effort presenting things, and then it will be difficult. But it's important, if you are a fan of the mountains and if you don't want to be tired on steps, use the mountain step. Constantly the same foot, yeah, makes your steps to be equally, yeah, and having constantly with the right foot going or with the left, depends, and keeping the same rhythm. And then you are not tired when you reach the top. One thing is sure in Sighisoara, the students and the teacher are learning to pack all necessary things daily and not forget something home, because that means double the effort to go back and reach the hill again. Josef Haltrich, as a young student, met in Berlin Jakob Grimm, and he was inspired by the brother Grimm about the story with the fairy tale. Siebenbürgische Märchen, one of the books that Haltrich published. And basically in his free time, in the time when he was a teacher here, he decided to get in contact with family, with students, and find out stories and fairy tales from them. And more or less he collected 120 fairy tales about Transylvania and about lifestyle of Transylvania. And together with help of, especially of Jakob Grimm, he published it under the title Siebenbürgische Märchen, Transylvanian fairy tales. He was also, in a way, He published some things about the history of the Germans in Transylvania. But from my point of view, the peak of his career was the fact that he published a dictionary between the dialect, the Sächsisch, and German. The school is still running. There are two buildings belonging to the high school. You will laugh now because the oldest building is called Die Neue Schule, the new school, 1619. It's still used. If we go inside, you can find quotes from Latin, from the philosopher. Then the big building was finished end of the 18th century, 1792, but without the last floor. The last floor was added 1901. And finally we have the peak of the hill with one of the most imposing buildings. You can see the typical identity of Transylvania by two things. It's House of God, but they never forgot, and they had in mind always, when they have built churches, also the fact that if they lose the wall, they will need to retreat in the church and find from the church as a fortification. This is the reason why very often in structures of churches you will find shooting windows, as you can see in that tower. Yeah? It's interesting because it's part of the local history and identity, because in the beginning, we're speaking about 12th century, we have mentioned the fact that exactly in that corner we had a small chapel, and here we had a defending tower as a first settlement of the town, yeah? Built by the settlers. This population was very good warrior, but less community with experience in building and craft. Then, when the Saxon came as a colonist, the settlers was moved slowly on the borderline. In the case of Transylvania, the borderline was the Carpathians. And then the Germans started, the Saxons started a long process here, and they built as a second stage a Romanic basilica, as a third stage an early Gothic, and as a fourth stage what you see today, the second part of the 15th century when it was finished, yeah, the late Gothic church from Sighisoara. And it was dedicated to the Holy Nicolaus. In that time they were still Catholic. Yeah. They use it more or less a couple of centuries, and then slowly, in the moment when the monks left the monastery church, they decided to use the monastery church because it was much more easy to access. Because also in the Middle Age time until today, each Sunday, most of the people that go each Sunday to the church are older people. And as you noticed, to bring all the older people up on the stairs each Sunday, it was a difficult process. Today the church is restored. It's in a very good condition from all points of view. And it's more a museum because inside it's preserving a lot of altars and shrines from the villages where we lost communities and it's nobody there. They decided to bring them here and keep them preserved. Pentru că foarte des apare ocupația și porecla. Sighișorenii au fost foarte miștocari totdeauna. Și în epoca medievală, și în prezent. Cibo, porecla. Da? Doamna trăiește încă. Și este foarte activă, da. Este artist plastic. Are și expoziții, are și cărți publicate. Și... Da. 90, da. Arhitect, constructor, proprietar de fabrică. Da, mașinul.
Ah, simbolurile, da.
Bine, și scrie, dar este sculptat și în piatră.
Tare.